Okay, we are continuing with our end of the Cold War lesson, a new era. So during the 1970s, the United States had a policy of what's called détente. D-E. D-E. Come on. E. All right? No. There we go. Détente with the USSR. And the idea is that you're actively managing relationships with a potentially hostile country to preserve peace. This means that we are not trying to get into wars. We are not fighting proxy wars. We have just had Vietnam. We've just had Korea. And we are trying to basically not fight with them so much. We're trying to back off. We're just managing it and not amping up all of the different ways that we can get into a nuclear war. However, United States President Reagan backed away from this policy. He was extremely anti-communist and took a confrontational stance towards the USSR. He would involve the United States, here's the next slide, he would involve the United States in foreign wars that were communist versus anti-communist. And so we see Reagan basically stepping up the pressure on the USSR in order to push them, in order to basically try to, gain natural resources. Well, I guess not gain natural resources, but gain power in the world, like we've been talking about, exerting influence in different ways to make the United States ahead and its allies ahead of the USSR and its allies. Reagan, misspelled, also announced, as an example, the Strategic Defense Initiative. All right, SDI, which is abbreviated SDI, commonly known as Star Wars. And this is a picture of Reagan and his Star Wars, and the idea that we would have satellites going around basically to defend us in the case of a nuclear launch by the USSR. This plan was to defend the U.S. from the USSR, but was never fully implemented because it would increase tensions. Because if we have these space lasers, basically, then of course that is going to influence Russia, in the USSR, into amping up their stance as well. After this, let's see, a person that you do need to know, Mikhail Gorbachev. All right, Gorbachev came to power in 1982, and he really is transitioning the USSR away from this Stalin-style communist regime. He introduced a policy known as Glasnost. Is it in this slide? Policy of Glasnost. Glasnost. A policy emphasizing candor, honesty, with regard to discussion of social problems and shortcomings. And so instead of, under Stalin, we're not allowed to question the state. We're not allowed to question the government. And anything like that is going to be a gigantic problem. Now, Russia is opening up to a certain extent. And now we've seen, maybe it's not exactly like that today. It's a very kind of current event. Even if you're watching this next year, it's 2023 right now. If you're watching this next year, things might have drastically changed in Russia, and what's today Russia. But as of right now, Putin has pulled back on a lot of this. But that is, very much in flux and in play. So this idea of Glasnost is emphasizing honesty. We are not kind of the same communist USSR as has been under Stalin and the leaders after that. This was different than the USSR under Stalin, which is what I was just saying. So, this policy was successful and began transitioning the USSR away from communism. Gorbachev also introduced a policy that was known as perestroika. perestroika, which was an economic restructuring, also moving the USSR away from communism. This allowed people to open private businesses and have some control over those private businesses. So instead of the state owning all of the means of production and giving out like money, giving out whatever people's like wages and salaries, what's happening under perestroika is people are allowed to own some businesses. He's not trying to get rid of communism, but he's moving away from this pure communist idea. People are allowed to own some of their businesses. They're allowed to have some control over them. And so also at this time, the USSR is opening itself up to elements of democracy. People could actually vote for certain offices. And that is where we're going to pick up next time with the fall of the Berlin Wall, and the fall of the Berlin Wall and some of the kind of the impacts of this. And we're going to wrap up the unit. That'll be it.